About a year ago, Felix at Loupedeck sent me this evaluation unit of the original Loupedeck editing console for Lightroom. I did a full review of that. I post a card up above and down in the comments down below if you want to see that full review that goes into every button and every control in that deck. And I wrapped that up saying that I would spend some time with this Loupedeck, get to know it, and get back to you. Well, sorry it's been a whole year, but I'm back. Two reasons. One, I really wanted to give you that follow-up feedback my first year using this console. And two, I really wanted to introduce you to the new Loupedeck Plus that Felix now just sent me. Full disclosure, Loupedeck did send me these free of charge to evaluate and do these videos. They are not paying me to do these videos, so I feel comfortable that I can provide you guys an impartial review with my results and my thoughts. How did the year go? Well, I'll tell you that I used this console up until 2 weeks ago. I used this console every single day in my editing. I found that it greatly improved my workflow because the dedicated dials and controls allowed me to never take my eye off the image as I'm going through culling in library mode, running through my final edits in develop mode. All those things are working beautifully for me. In fact, I find that when I don't have my Loupedeck, maybe I'm on travel or I'm working from home where I don't have it, it slows my work down so considerably that I'm like, do I want to edit or do I just want to wait till I get back to the shop? That's how much it has improved my workflow. So there's that 1 year review for you guys. Now, the whole philosophy is take all these sliders and all these panels, these mostly used panels over here in Lightroom, where you have to drag the mouse over, find the control you want, slide it back and forth, then glance over to the image to see if you've done a good job and then move it back and forth. Take all of that process and convert it into very convenient, dedicated controls. So if I want to up the exposure of this, there's a dedicated control for that, as well as the color controls, shadows, highlights, those sorts of things. Very, very fine adjustments that can be done without ever taking your eye off the image, which is fantastic. Now that I can map all the controls that I use to dedicated dials on the Loupedeck, my most favorite editing mode now is to go into full screen and in fact zoom in on the area that I'm interested in, and without any distractions at all, I can now go in and fine-tune edit just exactly the way I want the image to look. The new Loupedeck Plus sports some improvements in the overall press button design. They're deeper, have a nice rocker feel to them, improved potentiometers while keeping with the traditional Loupedeck overall design, preserving muscle memory for those who want to upgrade. Most of the hardware changes come in the form of a rearranging of some of the buttons and adding a few really important new ones. For example, these L1, L2, and L3 now programmable buttons in library mode, they're mapped to grid view like you see here. L2 is mapped to loop view like you might do some quick edits, and then L3 is mapped to survey mode, which I've never used before. One, I couldn't remember what the shortcut key was, but this is a very useful way for you to kind of select through a set of similar pictures, maybe picking the best one out of a smaller group, making changes or edits, or normalizing or correcting that. So I'm starting to use that a little bit more because now I've got a button that is programmed to do that for me, and it's easy to remember. They had a couple of dedicated zoom buttons. Both of those are gone because they've got more programmable buttons. You can put zoom anywhere you want. By default, it's on the C5 button, and that'll zoom in on the currently selected image and zoom back out. They had another couple buttons over here that were replaced with programmable buttons that are currently mapped to help in the culling process. So they're mapped to pick and flag and unpick and unflag. Again, you can map these to whatever works best for your workflow, and that makes it much more useful in library mode than the original was. In fact, over here in library mode, you can use all of these contrast, exposure, color adjustment dials, all these that you see over here in the quick development panel, but you're not restricted to the third stop jumps. You can very finely tune your images this way. And so now you can do a lot more in just library mode without having to jump into develop mode and suffering all of the lag that normally comes with that. When you do get into develop mode, then the world really opens up. Back in the original Loupedeck, most of these controls map very well to the basic panel and the HSL panel. When you got beyond those panels, there were very, very limited things a Loupedeck could help you with. So if you're a portrait photographer, this is great because you do 80–90% of your work there. But I don't know, what if you do a little bit more cinematic grading where you're using the split toning and the curves panels? Well, now with this customizable mode, you can map any of these dials to sliders in whatever panel you'd like. So those I just mentioned, maybe you're an architect photographer and you're working with the aspects and warping the image a little bit, you want to map those, you can do that. Before, where the Loupedeck was really focused on portraiture, now Loupedeck can be used by just about any genre and successfully map to your workflow. Special thanks go out again to Felix at Loupedeck for sending me this evaluation copy. Just the couple of weeks I worked with it, amazed at how much additional functionality you've packed into this deck. It now works for just about any kind of photographer, whatever your genre. There's a way to customize it to work with your particular workflow and improve that tremendously. So way to go. You now support so much more than just Lightroom. You support Phase 1, you support Aurora HDR, and now you just this week announced support for Photoshop, which I can't wait to try out, as well as Premiere Pro. I don't use Premiere Pro anymore for my video editing, but I'm going to dust that off so I can evaluate how the Loupedeck works with those other Adobe products. If you found this video helpful, please click the like down below. If you want to see more videos by me, subscribe and click the little bell to get announcements when new videos come out. If you find you want to buy yourself one of these Loupedecks, use the affiliate link that I put down below here. It doesn't cost you anything and it throws a few pennies in my coffers to help pay the costs of making more videos like this one. For Images by Design, I'm Jim Setzer. Have a fantastic day.